What's up and welcome back to Kinda Funny's Mad Max in Review. That's right, we are ranking, recapping, and reviewing each and every Mad Max Saga movie. Of course, I am your host of In Review, Tim Geddes. I'm joined today by It's Christmas in May, Joey Noel.
Hello.
And rounding out the group today, it's the producer/seducer, Nick Scarpino.
It's Furiosa, Tim, not Furiosa.
You're right. You're right, Nick.
You know, it hits.
Said that no less than 15 times in the last 24 hours. So
it's
everyone,
Furiosa, not Furiosa.
Andy Cortez, unfortunately, snakes. So many snakes.
What happened was Andy went to Taco Bell, and instead of burritos, they gave him snakes.
Wow.
It happens.
It does
It
happen.
happens.
It does happen.
It's a bummer.
Now, I know a lot of people out there have been watching along with us during this whole Mad Max saga. They've been really looking forward to Furiosa coming out, the new movie of like, oh, what are the guys going to think about this movie? Should we go watch it? Is it the best one yet? You guys are just waiting for us to give you those answers. Now, of course, I want it clear from this moment forward, full spoilers for this movie. All right. So that's how interview works. Yeah. It's going to be spoilers, just letting y'all know. But you're going to have to wait just a little bit longer to see what we thought about Furiosa, because a challenge has been issued. Currently, the movie rankings here on In Review for Mad Max go like this. At number 1, we have Fury Road. And at number 2, we have a tie between The Road Warrior, a.k.a. Mad Max 2, and Beyond Thunderdome, a.k.a. Mad Max 3. Coming in spot number 3, we have Mad Max 1. Now, we didn't want to have a tie, so we decided... me and Joey, who are rocking for Beyond Thunderdome being the second best, against Nick and Andy, who are fiercely competing, saying that The Road Warrior is actually better. We decided to enter the Thunderdome itself to decide who is victorious. And Nick suggested there's only one way to decide who wins. And what is it, Nick?
Yes. Well, you know, of course, we could have battled to the death, but that seems kind of short-sighted. Seems like a sort of a long-term solution to a short-term problem here. So I decided that we would make Andy try to get a hot dog into his mouth on a string. Now, Andy, of course, absent today. Where is he? Who knows? The snakes got him.
Maybe it was self-orchestrated snakes. We don't know.
Possibly. It could be self-sabotage. But I'm a man of my word. So I said I will take the bullet for this one because I love Road Warrior. So I'm going to put this hot dog in my mouth. I got 60 seconds.
Okay, so here's the deal, everybody. I'm going to put 60 seconds on the clock. Nick Scarpino is going to stand up. He has a string attached to his crotch area. He has a hot dog attached to the other end of that string. He is going to try in 60 seconds to swing the hot dog into his mouth. If he gets it in there, it goes down in the annals of history that the Road Warrior is better than Beyond Thunderdome. If he cannot, me and Joey win. How are you feeling, Nick? Okay, I got your dog plate here. All right, everybody. Are we ready? Roger, you feeling good about this? All right. Nick, 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, he's swinging. He's getting a nice little build up there. Oh, it might hit. Yeah, he has to get a little front because he doesn't want to hit the popcorn bucket. Okay, we're getting a lot of verticality with the dog, which is nice. Yeah. He has good form. Oh, he did a nice thrust getting it way up in the air. Hidden the cheek, though. He needs to get it in that hole. Oh, he's just flirting with that thing. We now have 30 seconds remaining.
No!
Oh, the dog down. We will stop the clock, everybody. We need a new dog. Everybody, we didn't plan for this. Kevin is running at a speed I have never seen him run before. We do have another dog in hand. Nick Scarpino's making his way back to the stadium.
This one's juicy.
This one's juicy. We got a juicy dog, everybody. This is how good movie review shows should go, everybody. Nick is tying the dog up. I do have the clock stopped, so he does not need to fret. 30 seconds. We'll go back on the clock once he is ready.
We had a whole conversation about do we have to microwave these in order for it to happen? And
all right, you ready, Nick?
Do not.
And go. All right, again, building that momentum back up. Almost hit the mouth. Hit the mouth again. Another dog down. That is another 15 seconds remaining. 15 seconds. We'll have a third and final dog. We'll get it in his mouth. He's been getting it suspiciously close. But remember, it needs to get in there.
I just want you all to know that the entire office is emptied and is watching this behind the cameras, which literally never happens.
This is it, Joey. I'm feeling good about Thunderdome.
I am too. But honestly, Nick's performance way better than I thought it was going to be.
100%. Yeah. There's dog juice on his face, everybody.
Sick.
All right, so he's tying the dog. Real good. Yeah,
you got some velocity going on.
he starts slow, getting a nice little rhythmic motion going, but then all of a sudden, those big thrusts get it up there. All right, 15 seconds on the clock. Go. Yep. Oh, he's getting a nice little bounce there. Oh! He did it! He did it! The Road Warrior is number 2.
Roger, this dog's for you. You take that home with you.
Congratulations, Nick. That was incredible.
Honestly,
a buzzer beater.
100% worth Thunderdome calling it 3.
Yeah.
I will happily concede a spot to have watched that.
Well,
whatever that is.
Everybody, that was fantastic. Welcome to Kind of Funny's In Review. Each and every week, we get together to rank, review, and recap different movie franchises. Thanks
Did you
to your
practice
support.
at all?
No.
Probably should have. Probably should
This
have.
morning, he was like, oh, fuck, we got to do the hot dog thing. Me and Nick went to Target for lunch, looking at all the different hot dog options. Like, what's our lives? Thank you for supporting these very, very stupid lives. Whether you're watching it on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames or listening on podcast services around the globe, or if you're going above and beyond and being a Kind of Funny member on either Patreon or YouTube, watching the show ad-free and live as we record it right now. Like I see Langley in the chat. Of course, I see... Oh, those names are a little small. Jasic over there in the chat.
Jeremy
we appreciate
Bauman.
all of you so very, very much. Shout out to our Patreon producers, James Hastings, Casey Andrew, Kieran Hovasapian, Carl Jacobs, Kashan Patel, Karen Lidner, and Nathan Lameau. Today we're brought to you by BetterHelp, but I'll tell you all about that later. I'm amped up, Joey. That was exciting.
That was incredible. That was
Thrilling.
an incredible situation.
There's so many things that have gone into this. First, the main conversation topic is like, Nick just volunteered to do this. There was no competition aspect, which I thought was interesting. And just really committed. It's very impressive.
He just loves the Road Warrior. If there's one thing I know about Nick, he will ride or die for the Road Warrior.
It's always impressive between this kind of competition when he kicked the bottle cap off of a soda bottle.
Incredible.
Like, Nick I don't know what type of skill that is, but Nick has it.
We've been saying this here, Kind of Funny. Nick Scarpino might have had the best single week in Kind of Funny history. He just hosted an amazing Kind of Funny game showdown. Amazing's a word to use, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
He also finished Pokemon. He also, because of becoming a Pokemon champion, he was on Gamescast twice this week, giving killer performances. And then
For Killer Clowns, I see what you did there.
Yes. What else did he do? He did some other
was
things.
Pokemon and
the Perry Poppy beating 2 bosses in Dark Souls with the training of Snowbike Mike. So everybody, go give it up for Nick Scarpino. He's out here living his best life. Now that I'm done stalling, because Nick is finally coming back, I'm going to get in.
That was a lot of dog juice to get off of his extremities. Oh, and a coffee.
Well, Nick's back,
Perfect
everybody.
chaser for a hot dog.
Yeah, hot dog and coffee.
So let's get into this. Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. With the runtime of 2 hours and 28 minutes, it is by far the longest Mad Max movie. Fury Road was the longest before that, but it's a full 30 minutes longer than it.
Yeah.
So this one's released on May 15th, 2024, which is a fun little date because 9 years ago on May 15th, 2015, Fury Road came out.
Whoa.
Always fun when we get little same date situations going on. This was once again directed by George Miller, and the music was done by Junkie XL. It has a budget of $168 million, but because the movie just came out, we do not have any box office numbers to talk about quite yet. Nick Scarpino,
Yes.
the champion among champions.
I get the.
What'd you think of Furiosa?
I
a Mad
really like
Max saga?
Furiosa. I don't normally like prequels. I don't think they keep the same level of suspense and tension as the movies that canonically come after them. But I thoroughly enjoyed this movie from start to finish. I think the action sequences were really fun. I think they had a kinetic energy to it that kept it going. And I think that Anya Taylor Joy was great. I liked Tom Burke a lot too, which is my first time seeing him on the big screen. And I think Chris Hemsworth was a daffy, kind of crazy, fun take on a bad guy role. And I think he did a pretty serviceable job. Overall, this is one of my favorite prequel properties that's ever been put on screen, and I'm very happy with the job they did with it.
Joester.
I am really conflicted on how I felt about this movie. I think that I like a lot of individual elements. I love the world building and the amount, like all of the information we get and the timeline that they span in this, because it's over a significant amount of years. I liked Anya Taylor Joy. I like a lot of individual performances. Chris Hemsworth is one that, like, I can't decide how I feel about Chris Hemsworth in the roles that he picks, like the campiness of it. And I know that this franchise, the series, has a lot of campiness in it, but there's something about his performance that like didn't quite hit for me. And I don't really know what it is. The action, I think, is not, maybe it's just because there's less of it or it's different than Fury Road, but I still think that Fury Road takes that for me. To me, it's just like, I like a lot of elements and I don't necessarily like how it came together. But I still had a good time. I don't think, it's not a bad movie or anything. I think this is like a Joey issue with the movie. I don't think it's like a general movie issue necessarily.
Yeah, I want to start by saying I think this was a great movie. Like, on the new kind of funny scale, I would give this a 8 out of 10. Like, I think that like, it is like more than solid, incredibly enjoyable, and I do think that for everybody that knows me and knows what I like about movies, I tend to prefer newer movies than older movies just because they're an easier watch, and I appreciate kind of more modern technology when it comes to like sound design and visuals and everything like that, just pacing of things. So from all those perspectives, I think like this movie, I highly recommend y'all go watch it in theaters. It's great. Having said all of that, I do feel like I'm a little bit let down by this movie because it's the first Mad Max film. Having watched all these for the first time the last couple of weeks back to back to back, this is the first one that just felt like more as opposed to something new. And I don't know that there was any element of this that I love as much as the elements that it was emulating or just retreading from the previous films. I think what this does new is it makes it feel like a franchise for the first time. This very much, it is a spin-off, it is a prequel, and I think that kind of works against what makes Mad Max kind of special about each one having such a unique identity to it. And this one is very much just DLC for Fury Road. And DLC can be great, and this is great. There's a lot of great stuff here. It just kind of answered questions I didn't have. It kind of showed me the different lands that they have, like the gas town and the bullet farm that were mentioned in Fury Road, but then seeing them was less cool than just hearing about them to me. This reminds me of Solo a lot in the sense of like, all right, cool, well, we need to see how she loses her arm and how she loses her hair and how she this.
Yeah,
and this
but
and
like,
this and
okay, but sorry, and keep that point, because I apologize for interrupting you, but I do want to bring this up before I forget. Have you seen the movie Hot Tub Time Machine?
not enough to remember it.
In that movie, Crispin Glover in the future, when they go to the rundown summit where everything's like crap, it's the one where they went to when they were the kids. Crispin Glover has no arm. When they go back in time, he has an arm. The entire movie, the running gag is how is he going to lose his arm? And that was this for me. I was like, is this going to be here? Oh, it's not here. Is it going to be here? Oh, it's not here. Sorry, I apologize.
No, I was very interested in how you're going to bring Hot Tub Time Machine in this. That was great. I do love it. I just feel like and I'm not trying to come off like a hater. I want to be clear. I really liked the movie. It's just, this was the first time leaving it. I was like, this movie didn't need to happen, but movies don't need to happen for them to be enjoyable. And I feel like when I think about what I loved the most, having just watched Fury Road last week, I was like enthralled, and it had countless moments that I was on the edge of my seat, jaw dropped, like, holy shit. And there was only one sequence in this movie where that was the case. And it was incredible. The big, wide oil tanker fight scene with the paratroopers, like
So cool.
flying with the fans and stuff. Oh my God, that was incredible. I just feel like we never hit that high before or after that moment.
Do you think that's a problem with the prequel sort of vibe? Do you think that's indicative of that type of movie for you?
I don't know. I mean, I just feel like I'm all in on this Mad Max world. Like, I'm so in for these movies, and Fury Road really just kind of like ratcheted it all up. I just kind of expected maybe. It's not that I needed more action. This movie has a lot of action. I just don't think the set pieces matched the insanity of Fury Road. And I think a perfect example is there was nothing I've ever experienced like entering that sandstorm with the lightning and people getting sucked up in Fury Road last week. I was like, oh my God. And then here there's a scene where Chris Hemsworth's bad guy is running away from Furiosa, and it's the end of the movie. Like you know she's about to fuck him up. And he runs into the sandstorm. And you're like, oh my God, we're about to get an amazing scene in the sandstorm. And it kind of just jump cuts to later of him just kind of sitting down and her just walking up to him. And I'm like, that was one of the biggest disappointments in movies I've had in a long time. Because I not that I need them to do the same thing again, but why even hint at it then? You know? Things like that I just feel like kind of like let me down. I think that the chapter sequencing that they had in this movie was unnecessary. And some of the calls I was just like, just a little bit like, all right, cool. But it's beautiful. Obviously, I think like so much of it's very, very enthralling and cool. A lot more of the green screen look in this than in Fury Road, and you either love that stuff or hate that stuff. I will admit, I was saying I was really concerned going into this one because the trailers look like absolute dog shit. Really happy to say, movie doesn't. I think that the trailer might have like put all of those scenes back to back to back in a way to make it like a stylish, exciting couple minutes. The movie, I feel that stuff works and the style kind of fits, and it I don't think ever really got in the way. But probably my biggest gripe with the film is that the credits, like the movie ends like directly leading into Fury Road, and then the credits kind of go through all the highlights of Fury Road. And I'm like, man, that was the worst thing you could have done, because I was just like, I like this movie better.
Yeah, see, I wish they hadn't done that either. A couple things that I like about the movie, and I'll disagree with you with the sort of the chapter markers, the chapter titles of it, because I thought that lended itself a little bit more to like George Miller wanting to make an epic. This is a story that spans decades, and it spans this. They have this this awesome sort of 40-day war, wasteland war that they talk about, which I was like, that's cool. And I was like, I don't want to see it, but that's cool. The concept of that, right? I do agree though that seeing sort of Furiosa's backstory, I think told in chapters, worked for the epic moment, but I do wish they had left a little to be desired. I didn't need to see her go directly from shaving her head to now I'm saving the wives. I wish there had been some time in there that I could just leave for my own imagination. That is my big problem with a lot of these prequels, is oftentimes, you know, my imagination of what Han Solo was always going to be way cooler than what we show on screen, because my imagination is infinite. I don't necessarily care how Furiosa got to where she's at with Immortan Joe. I just have to know why she wants to leave. That's pretty much it, right? I do think they made a fun romp and a fun adventure, and so for this one, I'm like, I'll give this one a pass. Because I thought they did a very, very capable job with it. And I thought I was pretty much riveted all the way up until the sandstorm. And I was like, all right, we're getting a little long in the tooth here. Like,
this did not need to be 2.5 hours.
But yeah, showing it and then going back and reminding me that like Charlize Theron was awesome in that in Fury Road, and like Tom Hardy's in it. Even the little nod to Tom Hardy earlier, I was like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. Whatever. Like, why would he just be here for like days? A little distracting. But overall, I didn't mind the style of it. And I like that. I guess this is a long-winded way of saying, like, I like that he was like, I'm going for broke on this. I'm going to make this the most epic, wasteland, crazy, apocalyptic thing you could possibly see. It's going to be almost like the Iliad and the Odyssey. It's going to be her kind of going out and coming back and discovered and becoming Imperial. And then we're done.
Yeah.
So it worked for me.
Yeah.
The other thing that's interesting, too, is I wasn't, I guess maybe I just don't remember the trailers, because at that point I hadn't started watching the movie, so I had no context. Did the trailers say that it was going to be, or did the trailers focus on Anya Taylor Joy the whole time?
Yes.
Because it's crazy that she's in half of the movie.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think that, personally, I don't think that that's a bad thing, though. Like, I feel like it's not like, oh man, like, we got like ripped off here. I feel like she was in it, like the inappropriate amount. I didn't feel like it. We got her. She was awesome. Like,
totally.
And I believe that she becomes Charlize Theron, which I think is an incredibly tall task for this. But no, she was awesome. And yeah, Chris Hemsworth, I'm with you, Joey, where I'm like, I don't know. Did I love that or did I hate it? Did it kind of love or hate depending on the line delivery of what he was doing? He committed, though. I think it was consistent. And it fits in the world of Mad Max. I think at the end of the day, I do lean towards really liking it. I just don't know if it's for the right reasons.
I will agree with you. I think that any given line raid or any given Sunday with Chris Hemsworth, you're dipping either into Thor Ragnar or Thor Love and Thunder territory, or something slightly more ominous. I think he barely pulls off the sort of menacing nature that a bad guy in this world has to have. But I think he made a very smart choice to make it a little kooky, because when we have those sequences where he's acting opposite Immortan Joe, you don't really want to Immortan Joes. It's like, as an actor and as a director, I'm glad that they gave each other the space to be like, do something else with this and have some fun with this, because he's a little insane, right? We sort of see that at the very, very end too, where he's like making another one of himself with Furiosa. But I do wonder if the movie would have been more interesting if a more dramatic actor took this role. You know, I think of this sort of psychoticness of, and I'm forgetting the character's name, from Road Warrior, the guy with the golden youth on his back and the
Humongous.
No, not Humongous. Is his like right hand man, the guy with the mohawk, who was like the crazy one.
Oh, the Rufio type guy.
Yeah. I mean, he was legitimately terrifying to me when I was a kid.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm like, I bet this actor's a little off kilter, and that's the sort of menace that you would expect from someone living out there in the wastelands. And I think Chris Hemsworth does a serviceable job of getting that across, but he's not 100% there. And so I do wonder if like you went for someone with less physical imposing
like a
features,
Sam Rockwell.
I mean, maybe. So,
I feel like
I'm
he
just
does the
thinking
weird
like,
kooky thing.
you know, I'm thinking like have you guys ever seen like Javier Bardem and like No Country for Old Men?
Yeah.
Like something like that, where you're like a really good actor that
God,
gets
Javier
deep
Bardem
into.
in a Mad Max movie as a bad guy.
But you know what I mean? Like something where a guy that can really be on screen and be like, oh, that's chilling to your bones. Whereas Chris Hemsworth is just a little bit more of an action-y star. And it's great for moments where he's hanging off the freaking crane, and for moments where he's beating the shit out of people. You're like, I believe that.
Yeah.
And obviously, a staple and a hallmark of the franchise is having all of their villains be like these jacked out dudes. Where it's like, when are you finding the time to work out in this wasteland? I guess what else you got to do? There's no books.
I imagine part of the Chris Hemsworth casting is also the fact that he's Australian. This is like such an Australian production that makes sense to me, that why they picked him. I just don't know that it's my favorite.
And
choice.
again, if you're gonna tell me you're gonna cast Chris Hemsworth or Ryan Gosling on anything, I support it.
Yeah,
Like,
and
I
his
don't care if they're
costume-
right for
and
the
he
role.
looks
awesome.
insane in this movie.
Yeah,
Like he looks so good.
He looks great.
Don't love they put the fake nose on him though. Never love the fake
A
Yeah.
nose.
little distracting for sure.
Little
But I
distracting.
think that's because we're just so Thored out. Like, you know, we know what that man looks like.
Well, I think they were like, let's give him a little kooky nose. Maybe the choice was made to make him a little uglier, a little less pretty. They give him, if you notice that his teeth kind of degrade over time as we get when we go into like 10 years later, they're all kind of gnarly. And I do love that also. Like, it's a little on the nose, but I'm a sucker for the parachute starting pure white and then going to red for the blood and then going
was
to black for
incredible,
like,
dude.
you know,
That was
to
awesome.
match the sort of the imperator face that
Yeah.
she has on her when she goes on the road.
One thing that I loved about the movie was them kind of leaning into the mythology stuff of it, of like the folktale of what's real, what's not, towards the end, where they do there was a 40-day war, and we kind of get a montage of it all, and then they're like, yeah, and then she didn't do anything crazy, she just shot him, and that was it. Like, some people say that she did this, some people say that she did that, and then she made him a tree with the seed or whatever.
Right.
I like that. Of just like, because that fits into the Mad Max lore
Love it.
of it all.
Love
But then
it.
I kind of feel like where they actually ended it, I wish they committed more, like, to such a great idea that they set up there. So
Yeah. I
mixed on it.
I agree. I like that, and I like that all those little crazy kind of. I mean, obviously she could make a guy into a tree, but it's fun and it goes a long way toward telling that tale.
Yep.
It's also confusing for me because with the tree thing specifically, because when early in the movie, when her wig flies off and it gets caught like on that branch and then that starts growing a tree, I'm like, is that the thing that she had in her hair was
No, I
that
think
and
it just
that,
got-
but then she also had that and like,
Oh, maybe.
so it's another one of those gray area things with like, what is the real myth? What happened? And I was just like a little bit confused.
I think that was just to show the patches of time, though,
Oh, okay.
like the leaves growing. I don't think it was the peach pit sort of thing.
But then that's the only other time we see this like tree growing.
Yeah, that's very true.
So it's a little bit weird.
I sort of missed. I think I missed that moment. I went to the restroom at
Oh.
that moment. I went to the restroom right when she went into the vault with the wives, and then
Oh yeah, it's right after that.
and then I came back as like Erectus was looking for her, and she was like a war boy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you missed some messed up shit. But we'll get to, I'll fill you in when we get to that in the plot. But we'll do that right after a word from our sponsors. Oh, we don't have Andy to play any like plot music, which is really sad.
It is
Oh,
sad.
that is so sad.
Andy, hit us with the plot. Or Nick, hit us with the plot.
Oh, now I'm just Andy. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the plot for Furiosa. Years after a global catastrophe, we get the same shot we've seen with the trees blowing in the wind and all that stuff, and it's like oil, power, radioactive. It's all gonna die. We're all half-life. I love the term half-life, by the
it's
way, for
great.
people who are basically dying of radioactivity. And then, of course, Furiosa is not a half-life; she's a full life. She's picking a peach, and it's like you couldn't get a peach tree. You couldn't just you gotta have CG Peachtree with CG. You know what I mean?
This intro really let me down. Fury Road's title screen hit and all that stuff. I was like, let's go. This was just like, all right, we're getting the same type of, hey, we're looking back at the past and like, let's set up the story of where we're at in this world. I don't know. There's something about it that just felt less exciting than any of the other movies that did the exact same thing. And then, yeah, getting to this CG Peach, I was like, oh, the trailers were right. We have a problem.
Yeah, that this was an indicator where I was like, all right, let's hold our breaths here and see. And then as the camera rack focuses from her grabbing the peach to her terrible wig, I was like, we're 2 for 2 on this one. We're 2 for 2.
Mm-hmm.
What's going to be next? I don't know. Either way, we have Valkyrie, who's picking sisters with her. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Valkyrie is the same lady that was up on the tower later, who's naked and is he's like, oh, that's bait.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's why she knows her, because she recognizes Furiosa when they see each other. And we see some of the Tuscan Raiders down, and they're eating a horse and they're packing it. And Furiosa's like, shit, we got to stop them. So she sneaks down. She's like, be a stone, Joey, be a stone, don't move. And she sneaks down there, starts cutting their brake lines. And of course, they get her, they tie her up. Valkyrie runs back, and she's like, oh no, she got. And then we get the lady who I was like, I can't place this actress, the lady that plays her mother, whose name is Charlie Frazier. And of course, Elsa Patinky is also in this. She is she's an actress of her own. She's in Fast and Furious. And she is Chris Hemsworth's wife. She's like second in command, pretty badass. They take off after these raiders. But Charlie Frazier, I recently saw in that absolutely god-awful Sydney Sweeney Glenn Powell movie.
Oh, who does she play?
Nick, you need to stop this. You like that movie. It's good. Like, every time you talk about it, you hate it more and more and more.
It's sunk in. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm not convinced that Sydney Sweeney actually knows how to act, but I don't think it matters. She plays the girlfriend that Glenn Powell's trying to
get back with. Yeah.
get back with the entire time, right?
Oh,
yeah, that is
you're
her.
right.
Yeah.
Interesting. She's very forgettable in that movie.
Well, the movie's very forgettable.
I don't disagree with Nick, and I don't like when that happens, you know?
God.
We're
No. Get that weird ass plate of broken hot
String
dogs
dogs.
away from me that are unnecessarily wet.
Hey,
God.
everyone.
They're so
If you want to
juicy.
test your might, go get yourself an Oscar Mayer wiener and some random paracord that's been in this studio for like 4 years. I'm going to get asbestos poisoning. All right. We go after them, and this is our first sequence, right? We get the sniper rifle, which is like, oh, that's how she knows, because she's got it in her blood that she's a sniper rifle. I love this sequence. I think it's awesome. A race across the sand as we go to Dominguez's, or not Dingus, what's his name? Doesn't matter. I'll get to it in a second. She's clapping one left, right. She picks up this badass motorcycle and has to do all this cool shit where she takes the tire off, puts the other tire, and the other thing is all yada, yada, yada. Unfortunately, the last biker that has Furiosa gets her back to the camp, and that is Chris Hemsworth's camp, who I will say right now, because I know off the top of my head, is Dr. Dementus.
He's a doctor.
I guess it's Dr. Dementus.
Yeah.
Of course you're a doctor. You can do whatever you want in the wasteland, Joey.
Chris Hemsworth.
I want to give a shout out to the history man. This guy that's tatted up and just knows everything about
cool.
everything. Again, another awesome little Fable-esque character. Obviously, impossible for you to be basically a walking encyclopedia, but this guy sort of is, and it kind of lends to the sort of like overtly kind of, I don't know, fairy tale nature of this whole thing. Very, very cool. Of course, Furiosa realizes that she cannot allow this guy to tell Dr. Dementus where the green place is. So she takes a fucking bone whip or whatever and throws it into the chain of the thing, and it like just strangles him, but just enough that he can't talk. And then the guy dies. And so Chris Hemsworth's like, hey, don't worry, it's going to be okay, little one. I got a fake nose on. I got a parachute, which is cool. Get her cleaned up. I'll talk to you tomorrow. We'll take it to the green place. Mind you, the mom's out there and she's about to sneak in. A sandstorm approaches. They're cleaning up Furiosa. And there's a lady there, and the mom sneaks in and just snipe with this badass like ball bearing
slingshot thing. It was cool.
Very cool. Love the use of the shadows in the tent here. It's like, oh, George Miller, you're a badass.
Of course, makes one mistake. Does not kill the woman in the tent because the woman pleads with her and says, I am also a mother. She is liar. She's a liar, pants on fire. She immediately goes and alerts Dr. Dementus, who chases the mother down. The mother, I guess, actually, no, she has a name. Sorry, because we've talked about that name. Her name is Mary Jabasa. Remember when she gets out in Furiosa, she's like, I'm the daughter of Mary Jabasa. And the lady's like, oh, no, you're Furiosa. So she's like, listen, she makes her promise. She's like, whatever you do, just keep moving forward. I'm like, there's no way this little 12-year-old girl can manage this motorcycle, because I, for one, have crashed a motorcycle, and that thing is very big and it was imposing. But she just comes to a stop and just kind of kicks it down. She's like, no, I can't let my mom be tortured to death. So she runs back in like a fool. Mind you, the mom's strung
A
up.
scene that we see kind of mirrored later when she's like leaving her like lover boy and she stops. She's like, no, I gotta go back.
Oh yeah, a good call. And then also a scene we see way later where people are telling the story of what she had done to him, and one of the things she does to him is string him up over a fire, and he's like all messed up and twisted, and potentially that's what she did, but we don't know. We'll never know the real truth behind that. And of course, the mom dies. Furiosa doesn't say anything, and the green place is safe. From here, we're on the road, man. And this is my first, I think I saw this in the poster, but I was like, what a fucking ridiculous and awesome thing they did, which is his chariot of motorcycles.
So fucking cool.
Yes.
It is so rad. And again, I think last week you brought up, or someone in the chat brought up, that Imperator is an actual name for like a Roman lieutenant from the Roman Empire, which is cool. And so we've got this chariot, like gladiatorial chariot. Like,
It's rad.
It's bad to the bone. I love it. Of course, they look over, they see a pop of smoke. There's a war boy over there with an arrow through his head. And he's like, am I in Valhalla? And he's like, sure, what the hell is that? And the history guy's like, oh, Valhalla is heaven for everyone. He's explaining it. At this point, I'm sorry, we did skip a scene where Furiosa is very young. She's been put in a cage.
Torture thing.
What's that?
The torture thing.
Yeah, this is where they find the guy, and he's like, this is the leader of the gang. I got 4 motorcycles, and there's a bunch of you, so beat the shit out of each other. It's the Dark Knight moment.
Yep.
And then they just draw and quarter the leader of that gang, and the lady that took a fucking spike to the face.
Jesus.
This movie is brutal
Yeah.
on like a different level than I think a lot of them, this being one of them. This is, I feel like, the full circle Saw moment where it's like, oh, Saw was inspired by this, but now this is inspired by Saw.
Very much, especially later when she rips her arm off and it's just like hanging there. It's like, okay, yeah, that was Saw.
Yeah.
Well, this particular scene, I leaned over to Tim and I was like, oof, this is traumatic. This is tough. And I think, obviously, look, you want to get scared and have a gore fest, you watch a Saw movie. If you want to be in this very uncomfortable place where you're in a post-apocalyptic wasteland where everyone's getting, like, it's kill or be killed, this scene perfectly exemplifies that. Granted, we don't see the guy. And we don't see the limbs come off. We just leave it to the old Hitchcock mentality of, like, you kind of pull out to a wide and you see the motorcycle.
See parts of it,
around.
like,
Yeah.
so there's something about it, though, that, like, there are moments in this movie that definitely made me, like, flinch and stuff. But I feel like some of the artistry wasn't there for these shots of the, the tortury, like horrible gore stuff that, like, the other movies, specifically like 1 and 2, and to an extent 3, kind of like all made me feel a bit more like, oh, I'm scared for these people than this one did. This just felt like violence for violence sake, and it felt cartoony in a way that Fury Road every once in a while would do something. Like when Max was tied to the front of or like chained up to the front of the car, and it like flips and stuff. It's like, that motherfucker's dead. Like there's no way he's okay. I feel like this movie plays so not even fast and loose. Like it pretty much commits to, it's a cartoon in a way that I think takes away a lot of the, like, oh, these are human beings that are getting ripped apart by motorcycles.
I think some of that is Chris Hemsworth, right? When I think of a scene that's very similar to this, I think of The Dark Knight, and you think about, it's obviously really, really hard, and this is why Heath Ledger won an Academy Award for it, but it's so hard to play sort of a comic booky character and have that level of, like, and instill that level of fear.
Yeah.
In me, I was like 35 when I saw that movie or whenever it came out, and I'm like, dude, he is fucking scary. And it's less about the physicality of it, right? And more about, are you in this scene, and is the scene itself so twisted that it's going to make me have a nightmare later in life? And I think they did, again, I hate to use the word serviceable. I think it was serviceable. I think it got a point across. To me, I was like, oof, that was tough. But I do wonder if it was a Heath Ledger.
Can you imagine an alternate universe where
Could
it
have
is
been.
Heath?
He was also Australian, right?
Yeah. Oof.
That could have
Wow.
been insane, right? And that would have just lent itself so much more to the tension of the scene, whereas Hemsworth is playing a little bit more cartoony, and so I think that does unfortunately deflate it.
I just think back to the scene of in Mad Max 1, I want to say it is, of like you see these bodies like naked stand up and run away, and like they're bruised from behind in horrible ways, and
They're
it's
bleeding
like,
from behind.
bleeding, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh shit. Whereas like this was just like, I don't know, just motorcycles going in circles in a way that felt overly dramatic and not actually scary.
Well,
I think the motorcycle tearing the body apart is less impactful than the scene that we get later where he's chained to the back of the motorcycle and going just fast enough that
Totally.
he's like having
Getting
to
pulled.
run and all of this stuff. I think that worked way more for me than this kind of thing did.
We do get a little touch here of Furiosa kind of reading the stars. So as they go, she's sort of tattooing herself so she can figure out how to get back to the green place.
Cool.
Interesting to note, the green place in this one looks way different than the bog that we saw in Fury Road. Remember, she's like, "Oh, you just drove through." I was like, "There's no mountains." This was like built into the side of like these awesome mountains. It looked much like the Citadel, which I was like, anyone, you would have seen this thing from like 15 miles away. Like, what's that patch of green there? Let's go after it. I digress. Doesn't matter.
This episode's brought to you by BetterHelp. We all carry around different stressors, big and small. I'm currently planning a wedding, so I know all about that. But when we keep them bottled up, it can start to affect us negatively. Therapy helps you find your strengths so you can ditch the extreme resolutions and make changes that really stick. You can get out of your negative thought cycles and find some mental and emotional peace, and it can give you the tools to find more balance in your life so you can keep supporting others without leaving yourself behind. Some of my best friends use BetterHelp and love how helpful it can be for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself, and it isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapist at any time for no additional charge. Celebrate the progress you've already made. Visit BetterHelp.com/kindafunny today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/kindafunny.
This is here where we get the stranded soldier who's like, "Oh man, I'm a little loopy right now because I took an arrow through my medulla oblongata." And goes, and they're like, "Where are you from?" He's like, "The Citadel." They're like, "Which way is that?" He's like, "Oh, it's right over there." And so, of course, Dr. Dementis and his 1,000 bikers roll into town, and they're like, "We're going to kill you all. You might as well just come in right now." And this is when we see the People Eater, we see the Bullet Farmer, and of course, we see Erectus and Scrotus, who is a new son, who I have to imagine the costumer was like, "Let's make him look exactly like Butthead."
I was going to say, he looks just like the SNL sketch. The entire
Just
Is it that guy?
It might be that guy.
Because that was
don't know.
pretty distracting and weird. I did enjoy this, though. I didn't expect to get, for what this is, it being this type of prequel thing, follow up to Fury Road. I didn't really expect to get a Morton Joe and this crew of people. I knew we'd get them as a cameo. I didn't think that they would be the plot of the movie and characters with dialogue in this movie.
And see, I think that's why it works for me, because we dip into sort of Game of Thrones power struggle world. The main story of this movie is not Furiosa trying to escape. That's sort of a B story. The main story is like, who's going to, like, what's the power struggle between Immortan Joe and Dr. Dementis? And I think it's absolutely fascinating. You're like, you know, he obviously we'll get there, but he takes over Gastown and then runs it into the ground, and it's like, oh shit, now he's got, what's he gonna do there? I found all that stuff very, very interesting.
This is all the world building stuff that I really like, of getting the power struggles, how these camps came to be what they are when we meet them in Fury Road. I think all that stuff is fun. I love that we get the organic mechanic back. Like,
Getting mechanic.
it's just fun to get all these little, like, oh, we get more of these characters, which I didn't know that I wanted more of, but I do.
Yeah.
I think it works. The organic mechanic thing, I was like, this is a little ham-fisted. We're starting to get into the Millennium Falcon dice territory where I'm like, I don't really think we needed to know where this guy came from. He could have just been on the squad. But I do think it's cool that like somebody else, I think it was Immortan Joe's brother, ran Gastown, which is cool. And he's just kind of gullible and dumb. And then we see why here Immortan Joe is so powerful as we pull into the scene, which, by the way, shout out to the old lady and the entire team of people living under the sand who are eating people, who are producing maggots and eating human flesh. That's terrifying. But Immortan Joe's like, hey, I'm totally gonna bargain with you. I just need you to pick one of my war boys out first. And he's like, why? And he's like, just do it. Picks one guy out. No, not you. The one to the right. And he goes, witness me. And then jumps onto the zip line and fucking just suicide dive bombs into Dr. Dementis' group.
So cool.
That starts it up. They start swooping cranes down and grabbing this and grabbing that. And it's a whole thing from which Dr. Dementis saves Furiosa and they ride off together and they narrowly escape with their lives. From here, this is where I think we go over to, Furiosa now is she here yet? No, yeah. Oh no, she's not here yet. So this is where we go over to Gastown. He's like, if I can't have the Citadel, I'll have Gastown. Right. So he hashes a plan to steal one of the war rigs, put his people on there. He like paints them white, and it's kind of cool. Actually, this I did like. because he takes some of the dirt, like the soil,
Yeah.
and right underneath the top layer is that white. And I was like, oh, that's why they're all
cool.
that like pasty white. Is because they put that on themselves. So like
Predator.
tribalistic, but also maybe again from me and Tim to you, just an important note: shelter from the sun.
Skincare. Yeah.
Predator.
Exactly. And Predator. Danny boy. Of course, we meet their sort of sub boss here, which is the dude with the horns, and who I guess runs a different
Like the
squad.
Fly Guys.
Yeah, but he's like beholden to him. So he's like, pick 3 of your guys, and then he gets really pissed off because the ruse of Dr. Dementis, them attacking this war rig, there's something off about it. No one's dying. The flames are not going the right way. Sort of like an old-timey movie where you throw a punch, but it's like 5 feet away. And you're like, that clearly didn't connect. And so Dr. Dementis immediately makes the choice. He was like, you know what? We got to kill a couple of these guys. To which the lieutenant's like, you're a motherfucker. Don't do that. They're my guys. They're loyal to me. And I don't know if you caught this or not, but that's when the guy splinters off. And that's why he's attacking the war rig later in the movie.
Oh,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I'm pissed. And so he takes all his guys and becomes one of the raiders outside. And
Cool.
then Dr. Dementis, of course, the ruse works. They open the gates and bada bing, bada boom. Gastown is now Chris Hemsworth. He sends word back to Immortan Joe. Time to bargain. We want double everything. They come in. Weird scene where he gets his nipples ripped off. I don't know how that happened or why.
It was a little bit hard to follow, but this was one of those scenes where I was like, all right, like I'm feeling some level of tension. It just, I didn't expect the nipples to get ripped off. You know what I mean? So it was distracting.
If I was going to expect the nipples to get ripped off of anybody, it's going to be the other guy with the nose
guy.
thing.
And the
that
nipple
wears
thing.
the suit with the...
With the nipples cut out
Yeah.
of the suit. Kind of like how this is set up, where he's like, time to bargain. If I don't go back, this whole all of Gastown's going to blow up in like 60 minutes or whatever it is. So let's bargain. And Morton Joe's like, all right, fine. Who is this? Points to Furiosa, and he's like, this is my daughter. And he goes, are you really her daughter? She goes, no, he's an asshole. He killed my mom. He's a fucking terror. He goes, great. I get her, and she'll grow up, and if need be, she'll be one of my wives. And of course, Dementis is like completely taken back by this. He feels betrayed. He's like, you're a piece of shit. Whatever. Immediately gives it to her. Bada bing, bada boom. He goes over to Gastown. He's good to go. They also got the organic mechanic, who is now here, presumably to deliver Immortan Joe's children. We go into the vault. Tim, this is where you have to pick it up, because this is where I took my first potty.
Yeah, so this is where like so much happened. Like this is one of those moments where Nick goes to the bathroom, he comes back, he goes, what happens? I was like, there's not even enough time for me to explain.
My
Yeah.
exact words were, I left and they were opening the vault. I come back, she's underneath a bridge like Predator.
Yeah.
And Erectus is like, I don't know, I lost her. And I was like, oh, I missed a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
didn't I, Tim?
Yeah, and her head was shaved at that
Yeah.
point too. Yeah, so what happened is she goes into the vault with all of the women, and one of them is like, oh shit, I'm giving birth. And then they come in and like try to like actually birth the baby, and they're like, oh, is it a boy? Is it a boy? Just like we saw on Fury Road, where they're like trying to confirm that shit. And they pull the baby out, well, we have bigger problems than that. And the baby is like 2 babies. Like it was like a conformed, just
gosh.
like bad situation
Okay.
that they
No,
had
well,
going on.
Truly didn't even really look alive.
It was very upsetting.
Yeah.
And so that was the whole thing. And then they're pretty much just like, all right, well, this woman's worthless.
3 strikes, you're out.
3 strikes, you're out. And
Which
she's
is
like, no,
so
I can do
harsh.
it. I can do it. And then they're like, no, you're going to be a milk
Milker?
mommy or whatever it was
I think
called.
over to the
Yeah. Milker. Yeah. Which is worse. I'm not sure. But anyway, they said that. And Furiosa's all like, oh, fuck this shit. And then she kind of like runs up and like goes into this little hallway thing, and then like starts cutting her hair. And she like makes a wig of her hair and puts it on. And because she knows that like the guy kept one of the Scrotus or fucking the other
Erectus.
guy, Erectus, one of those dudes.
Such a funny pairing.
Yeah, the bigger one,
Erectus.
from I think the one guy from Fury Road. He kept grabbing at her hair, so that's why she did this. So then later, he like goes to grab her hair, and like it like rips off, so she can just get away.
Oh, okay.
And then that's why she like hides gets under the bridge to like avoid him, and he kind of gets caught doing some horrible shit. Like he's clearly trying to take her and like do bad things, and then kind of gets called out by his brother. I was like, yo, what the fuck you doing? And since he got all caught, he was like, hey, I wasn't doing anything. I think I saw somebody run, but I don't know what was happening. So he kind of like uses her getting away as a distraction from the fact that he was doing some bad shit.
Oh, okay. Well, this is where we pick it back up. Of course, we cut over, and now it's a sandstorm. And Scrotus is they're trying to lift a truck, and all goes crazy, and the guy that's on the truck that's supposed to be tethering it, one of the tethers breaks, so they nominate a skinny little boy that's sitting over to the right, and of course that is Furiosa. She jumps down and saves the day, and he's like, you know what, you've just been promoted, and hands him the gauntlets for that look like one of the guys that used to, like, you know, chop someone's head off in medieval times. Is that kind of look to him. From here, now, baby, we're over in the mechanic's office, and we're going to build something that's so freaking cool. It's this badass tanker that's got all of these, like, shiny Immortan Joe, not paintings, but I guess engravings all over them, and it's got the back end with the blades and all that cool shit. And Furiosa's like, here we are. This is my time. Of course, now she's hiding out straight up as a boy, covering her face. She doesn't talk at all.
And it's like crazy that she gets those gloves too, because that covers the tattoo, which like everybody knows is her.
Right.
And like allows her to stay alive, because otherwise I'm sure that Erectus figures out who she is, she gets punished for whatever.
Yeah,
and
totally.
like,
Right.
blows
Well,
the
not only
entire
that,
thing.
but, you know, being a woman and
Oh yeah.
amongst all these men, probably not going to turn out too well.
Fine. Apocalypse happens, just kill me right away.
I'm walking out of
I
the
don't
store.
want to live in any of that.
I'll never forget. Have you ever seen the movie The Road? There's a. I mean, first off, don't. It's going to
That's Stephen
traumatize
King?
you. No, The Road is Cormac McCarthy,
Oh.
and it's Viggo Mortensen and his kid, and it's just like post-apocalyptic. Like everyone's fucking eating each other, and it's just horrible, and everyone's like dying of cancer. And there's one moment where like his wife, it's a flashback to her, and as everything's broken down, he's like, I can protect you, and she's like, and so at one point when there's like this big storm, she just walks out into the darkness. It's fucking brutal. She's like, I'd rather just die out there than God suffer whatever fate's gonna you know, await me in the wasteland. Very, very, really fucked up movie. Anyway, so from here they're building Warwick, and now when it's done, she finally is like, I'm gonna escape, and this is where we meet sexy Mad Max guy.
He's great. I don't know who he is.
The only
You knew
context
him
I
from
have from
something?
him is he is on a show called CB Strike, which is an HBO detective show. It's a British show. Unfortunately written by J.K. Rowling, or her pen name, where she wrote the books for those. But the show itself is very good, and the actors are very, very good. So if you guys want to give that a watch, Tom Burke, yeah, he's good in it, and his counterpart's very good in it.
Like, he was so rad,
Yeah.
but it did feel a little bit like, oh, okay, cool. We have Mad Max at home type vibe.
It's one of the.
Praetorian Jack.
What's that?
Praetorian Jack is his name.
Oh, that's
is
cool.
Cool.
I thought this guy did a great job. Well, a little on the nose, obviously, because he's dressed like Mad Max. He's got the one shoulder pad. He's got the leather. He's got the swagger. He kind of doesn't talk a lot. He's got the sexy voice. And it's like,
Why?
is that why she liked him? I don't know.
It's a weird choice, right? Like, to do that where in a world that's so creative and has so much going for it, like to make a new character that's just Max in the movie that doesn't have Max feels, I don't
Kind of
know.
has Max.
Kind of does. It does kind of have Max.
I mean, we get one shot of Max who's apparently just watching this madness
It
for
makes
like a
me
year straight.
want to go back in Fury Road to that scene to see, is she like crawling in the background?
Well, this was like 40 days before.
Yeah,
'Cause
but isn't it the same shot from Fury Road? Is it not?
No.
It looked the same, but
Okay.
it can't be because
It's not
the time
because
doesn't add up.
yeah, it's totally different. She would have been way older. Like
Oh,
that
yes,
would have
that's
it would have been
true.
the day before or like days before she left with the
Yeah.
wives. So all this stuff wouldn't happen. But it was just a bad idea. Someone was like, "We gotta see Max." And I was like, "No, don't do that."
A little too early,
Anyway,
Blizzard.
I thought Tom Burke did a great job. I like their connection here. This is where we get the action sequence of the movie, in my opinion.
My God.
Which is where I believe now we are caught up to Anya Taylor Joy. Although I could have swore there were 3 actresses that played Furiosa because she looked really young in here, so they did a great job with their makeup, like de-aging her. Not that she's that old at all. I think she's only like 25, 26. I have no idea. But awesome sequence where the mechanic gets killed. She steps in for him. This is also where we get the fans and the vultures and everyone kind of coming from the sky and throwing shit down. The war boys throwing their javelins at them but missing because they can't fight gravity. You never fight gravity. That's what got Sandra Bullock in Gravity.
You're right. You're right.
It's like-
Sandy
On the
Bullock,
bus?
some people call her.
Super cool. Of course, this is where they fight. I love the sequence. We got the little guy in the back that's supposed to do the dingus or whatever the hell it's called, and it just gets shot in the fucking head.
Dude, that thing where with like we see these like kind of like balls on chains, like spike balls hanging off the back of the oil rig, and you're like, what are they going to be like? I don't. Maybe it's just a little extra stuff, like in case someone gets behind them. I was like, what are they going to do with this? But they're actually on the spinning propeller that creates this tornado vortex that pulls down all of the flyers. I'm like, this is incredible. This entire sequence was like as good as anything in Fury Road, and I was just entirely enraptured with it. Like the use of the different vehicles and humans, the way that they fight them underneath the rig, and there being so much chaos that there's all those moments of like who's on whose side. This is kind of the introduction of the Jack character, so you don't really know what the vibe between him and Furiosa is going to be. Loved this.
Is this the point where we're also introduced to like the P boys or whatever? The guys that just have like what looks like containers of pee.
Yeah, because they put out fires with it.
Which is
what else are you gonna do with pee?
I guess.
What do you do with your pee?
I flush it down the toilet.
Oh, what a waste. That's gold right there.
I guess.
Let's go start a fire. Well, me and Tim will show you how to put it out.
Let's go start a fire.
This is how crazy. I mean, granted, things have gotten way better in San Francisco, but like 3 days ago, I don't know if I'm telling the story. I'm getting on the on ramp, and I had to look over, and part of a bush is just a little on fire. And I was like, well, just keep driving.
Just a little.
Someone just lit some shit on fire. It got put out.
Maybe
someone peed on it.
Maybe not my favorite of like the sub faction.
Yeah,
the P-boys. Well, you got to start somewhere, Joey. Okay, you know you got to. Not a lot of jobs in the wasteland, right? It's either P-boy or you got to cut your arm cut off so they can put fucking maggots on it or whatever it was down in the basement.
Yeah, I don't want to be. I guess
like
if those are my choices, I'm a war boy.
There's a smell factor to both, so you just got to pick which smell is a little bit more tolerable to you.
Yeah, but getting
Rotting
eaten
flesh and pee-pee.
alive by maggots also sounds absolutely horrendous.
They just eat the dead flesh off. They're still used medicinally to this day.
This is horrifying.
Yeah, it is. But that's the wasteland. I digress. We pull up to Gastown, and Chris Hemsworth doesn't even really recognize her. And he's like, we got all our shit.
Baby.
Yay.
She got taken away.
In the gas tanker, of course.
And this is the most nitpicky thing I'll say this entire review. There's not a fucking chance in hell that you look at Anya Taylor Joy, I don't recognize her out of a lineup of everybody. She might be the most like, that's Anya Taylor Joy person I've ever seen.
A couple things. I think she was still in this one. Disguised a little bit. Oh no,
it does not matter.
We did miss an important moment where she was like, stop the car. She pulls a gun on him. He goes, Kai, no problem. Kicks her out, and then she's walking, realizes she has no way of getting back, and then he stops and he goes, what's your deal? And this actually maybe it was on the way back. I don't know. We'll just say it now. She's like, look,
this is after the fight.
I just want to get the fuck out of here. And he's like, yo, you don't got what it takes to do that. Even if you think you can, you don't have the skills yet to successfully get away from him. So why don't you hang out with me? I need to get a new crew since my entire crew just got decimated. And I think you'd be a good person to start with as like building that foundation. I will teach you everything you need to know. You will ride with me on the war rig. We will kick ass, take names, chew bubblegum. And eventually when you're ready, you pass on. How's
Great
that sound?
stuff. Love
Great
this
stuff.
scene.
And he's got that sexy ass hair that you could have, Tim. Just fucking grow it out.
Leaned over to me 10 times. Like, you just need to just let it grow. You could look like that, Tim. And I'm just like,
you're almost there. You go like twice as long. You slick it back a little bit. You got the little 5 o'clock shadow.
Curly,
I'm a curly boy, man. Not a pea boy.
We'll grease it up. We should go as him for Halloween. Just like do the black face paint.
You know, everyone's gonna be Anya Taylor Joy for Halloween this year.
I mean, they're not gonna be sexy Tom Burke though. I wish I didn't have a mustache or like a beard. I should shave it.
You could get rid of it.
There could be so many cool characters.
What else is on your list? That the
Mostly
beard
just John McClane again. I'd like to go as him again before I die. I digress. We go back. Success. Wasteland's great. We go back back to War Road, and this is where we get more and more sequences. I can't remember where we go from here. I think at this point, it's discovered that I'll just skip ahead a little bit here. Dementus, years later, just running this place into the fucking
totally
ground.
fucked it up. Civil Wars going on within
Civil
the
Wars.
groups.
They deliver food.
Fights.
We do meet the bullet farmer as well. We see the bullet farm, which is cool for once. I mean, Gastown way cooler.
I'm going to be honest. The bullet farm sucked. Like Gastown, totally cool, acceptable, whatever. The bullet farm reminded me of the bad seasons of The Walking Dead. Like when we're just like in that thing where it's like the big tanker thing kind of fell over. I was like, I don't know, man. Something about this just not wetting my whistle.
Not wet in the whistle. World building, but yes, so they're doing runs. He teaches her everything. And then, of course, this is where all hell starts breaking loose because they barely can get out of Gastown. And he's like, you need to tell the rest of the leaders that we're going to have a tribunal of all the captains, basically all the generals. 3 days from now, sunset or whatever in the Citadel. I'll be there. Of course, that is a ruse. What's happened, of course, we come back. And this is the day that Anya Taylor Joy is supposed to abscond. he orders her to take the V8 with the motorcycles. And he's like, you're gonna need the V8 to get there, and then once you get to the actual dunes, take the motorcycles across, and you'll be ready to go. But it is in fact an ambush. They get to Bullet Town. Bullet Town is bone dry, and all hell breaks loose. She has that one moment where she leaves. She goes through the gate, and she's like, "No, I should go back." This is an awesome sequence where she's sniping the shit out of everyone. And then Chris
sick.
Hemsworth uses his guy as both a human meat shield, which I often am in Warzone to Mike, and also as like a tripod for his RPG. Shoots an RPG at her. You're thinking this is how she loses her fucking arm, right? He's like, I think it's gonna get blasted off.
Absolutely
no, one
not.
arm pops up. And the other hand pops up, and I'm like, you have to know you're doing this to me, George Miller.
That's
you
funny.
got to know you're doing it
I didn't
to
even
me.
realize that. That's
Oh
great.
man, there was like 4 or 5 times where shit was almost good. Like there was a moment where the motorcycle goes underneath the war rig and it like catches her arm, and I was like, oh, it's not that time. All hell breaks loose. The war rig, this brand new war rig, goes down. It explodes. Molten lava's all over the fucking place.
Where
Chris
did the
Hemsworth.
lava come from?
I think there. I mean,
Probably
it
make
was
the bullets, right? Like
bullets. Yeah, there's fire bullets. I don't know. I mean, it's presumably this farm was like where they would get gunpowder from, right? I don't even know what gunpowder is, but my imagination
I'm
is
so
that
with you, Nick.
there was a
like I
fire.
just put it together. I was like, oh, there's lava because they're making bullets. How does that make sense? I don't know, but it made sense to me.
Well, there was an explosion of the tanker, so there's gas down there. So something's burning, and then all the bullets poured into it. Like there was just tons of
I
bullets
guess
that
it's
poured
not
over
lava
him.
as much as just like molten
Molten
iron.
Stuff.
Like it's not coming from the ground.
Yeah, it's not
Missed
volcano.
opportunity though, because if you're pouring bullets into a fire, you'd expect like, pa, 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 which I thought was gonna happen.
But instead, we just get a bunch of things falling in really shitty CG fashion, and Chris Hemsworth kind of like lightly jumping from thing to thing. I was like, God, this looks like garbage. But then we see him hanging all the bullets like falling out of him. I'm like, this is fucking awesome.
Fucking rad. Anya Taylor Joy gets away. She saves her bow. They get in the V8 and they rip off. Chris Hemsworth gets saved by the dirt mover. They go into this badass big rig, and he's like, "We got to get something." He's like, "There's no time." Smashes through the gate, just bangs it down, chases after them.
Seems like a really easy gate to bang down, which
Seems
doesn't
like the
really
war
say
rig
a
could have
lot.
just backed up into this thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you don't have a lot of options for contractors in the wasteland. Got to
That's
just kind of
true.
take what you.
I
can
do
get.
love this scene though, because it's like the stupid gate falls down and they all kind of get out, and then all the motorcycles are going behind him, and they're all like going over. And as a viewer, you're looking at this and you're like, how the fuck are these motorcycles so easily just
That's
like
tough.
navigating
Oh, it's
this?
hard.
And then there's the one dude that they made sure that everybody saw bites it, and eats
shit.
Man, it's just horrible.
I honestly
Hilarious.
don't think that was planned. I think that stuntman just went
Just
down.
went
and they
down?
just left it.
Yeah, that
because there was
sounds like
also the
George
homie on the
Miller
right
shit.
that's like, I'm just gonna go in between.
I'm
the
just
gate.
gonna slide. Yeah, that was
would've
pretty
been-
good.
Awesome sequence. We're going up the dunes, down the dunes, all that stuff. This monster truck catches up to them, and finally, she's got her hand out there with the double barrel that we've given to her, and it just the big tire truck just smashes it up against her little V8, and it just gets all sorts of mangled.
One of those moments that the entire theater in unison just gasps,
we
like,
gasped.
wow, that was so much to deal with.
This is the point where I was just like, I can't watch any more of this.
Yeah.
It was one of the more brutal things I feel like I've ever seen in theaters.
Period.
I do forget there was a sequence prior to this where we're up in the hill, and she shows him the peach from her hair, to which I would reply, "Ugh, that's been your hair the whole time."
But it's just the pit.
It's kind of gross, though. You can't be hiding shit in your hair.
So you were grossed out by the peach pit in the hair, but largely unbothered by the pea boys.
The pee boys serve a purpose. Okay, it's the circle of life, right? If I could arch it into my own mouth, and that was clean, come on.
I mean, you proved that you
it's
can,
Dune.
Nick.
It's Dune.
I've never seen
I hope we
Dune.
never need to enter that Thunderdome.
No.
Well, we'll see where this movie ranks. We'll see if there's a tie.
Fuck.
Thank God
Odds are
there's
there
only
won't be.
three of
There's
us.
three of us.
Thank God.
Nick about to abstain to make you and I tie.
I like this scene. I think Chris Hemsworth does a good job. I think this might be his best scene where he realizes that like he strings up the sexy Mad Max, and then he just starts getting pulled around. You're like, oh, they're gonna pull him around and then torture him later. No, they're just gonna pull him around until he dies.
Yeah.
And then they put, of course, her mangled arm up on the. They just string her up by one arm, and they start just rolling around in a circle for hours and hours and hours. And Chris Hemsworth just sits down, and he's so defeated and disappointed because, of course, the bullet farm's destroyed. Gastown's in ruins. If he had Bullet Farm and Gastown, he basically could have ruled all of the wasteland because he would have had all the 2 out of the 3 massive, resources that they had. So he's pissed off. At this point, I don't even think he realizes that it's Furiosa yet. He's just mad at her. He says enough is enough, calls it off, looks over.
Not to mention, while he's being dragged around, he unleashes the dogs
Yeah.
that are chasing after and tearing him apart bit by bit. insane.
Tough one. Of course, as the dust settles, he goes over to talk one more time to Furiosa, presumably to kill her or to torture her, but he does not find her. He just finds her mangled arm hanging from the hook from which she was.
Get hype, man. This was pretty good. Pretty damn good.
Pretty awesome. Very difficult to pilot a motorcycle up rocky hills with one arm, but hey, kudos to her for doing it. She crushes it. She goes off, of course, eats it in the desert, or presumably, or runs out of gas. She goes up the hill. The other things can't make it up the hill. From there, I believe who's she picked up by? I think this is where Mad Max sees her down there. He's like, oh, this is some crazy
she
shit.
like collapses.
She collapses. Oh, she's brought back into the Citadel, and then she wakes up with leeches on her arm. She's in a little hole area, and the lady's like, oh, we all float down here. It's like, Jesus Christ, get me out of here.
Man.
I don't really know what the purpose of the like underground.
I was a little
People
confused
are-
too.
Those people are part of, this is how I've read it. There's Morton Joe and his people, the War Boys, they're always up top. They're the ones that if you remember from
Yeah.
Fury Road, they give them water. They basically withhold resources to these peasants to presumably get them to do whatever the fuck they want and or as a workforce, like a slave workforce, basically. And then if they have children, they take them up and they become war boys, right? They're living down there on very, very, very scarce resources. So they're eating each other, basically. So when you go in there and you see limbs hanging, the maggots are to eat the rotted flesh off so that they can cook the rest of them and eat them without actually eating right in front.
Damn, Nick, you really.
For
have
those of
good
you who don't
understanding of
know,
this.
maggots have been used medicinally, and I think still are. I could be wrong. This is where Kevin would come in handy.
Isn't it leeches?
No, maggots are, well, leeches are as well.
Yeah.
But maggots are specifically used because when people have something amputated, if there is dead skin, the maggots themselves will eat just the dead skin off. That's what maggots are. That's what they do in nature. That's why whenever you see like a dead, cow or a dead, a deer out in nature, maggots usually form first because it starts breaking down all that dead stuff. Let's see here. In cases of severe infections of a limb, natural biosurgery by sterile maggots may prevent the need for amputation and thus preserve the patient's quality of life. Maggots act as necrophages and destroy bacteria.
Good for them. Maggots. Got
Yeah.
a bad rap.
I mean, they get about it. Also, in the movie Lost Boys,
I think they get like an accurate rep.
They're doing nice things.
it's nature's, garbage men. They just break it all down. Break it all down, Joey.
Oh, fuck, it's
Just
breaking
take
it
me
down,
out,
everybody.
when the apocalypse happens, as soon as possible.
Oh, I want to
wanna
be.
out.
I'll be real with you. My plan, if ever there is an apocalypse, specifically nuclear, is I've told you guys this before. I'm going to pull a war game, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to figure out
Have
where.
you told us this before?
Absolutely, I have.
Okay.
You remember, of course, in the movie War Games starring Matthew Broderick.
Of course I do.
And I want to say Ali Sheedy was in that as well.
yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right. They have to go find the guy that made the Whopper, the big computer, and he is on. He's in Northern California at a place where it's like site number 1 where the nukes are going to hit, and he designed it that way because he was like, when nuclear war breaks out, all I'll see is a flash, and then that's it.
That's the dream.
That's the dream for me too.
I don't
Hey,
wanna
what's
deal
that?
with No radiation.
We're never gonna know.
Just incinerate me on contact.
No Starbucks, no me. I digress. From here, I think we'll just keep going. She goes, "Hey, I'm Furiosa. I was so and so's friend. You know who I am. Let me up the tower. I got a message from Morton Jack." She goes, "Hey."
Oh yeah, she calls out the like position that she was when she
Yeah, I forget what it was.
she has the cool gloves.
We got to get the cool breakdown of all the positions. Because even
hierarchy.
Jack wasn't an imperator, right?
No,
I don't think they had given him that designation, even though he had the cool
Yeah.
imperator sort of.
maybe for the next Mad Max movie, I'll make a flow chart.
That'd be sick. That'd be
I'll
cool.
work on it.
She goes up and she's like, "Hey, man, this is what's going on. Dr. Dementis is he took Bullet Farm. He's probably coming here." And they were like, "No, we should go kill him." And then they're debating back and forth. What should we do? Yada, yada, yada. And then they get a message. "Oh, he's at the wasteland or whatever. And we should go get it." And they're like, No. He's coming here. And then Morton Joe's like, "Here's what we do. We make him think that we're going to the wasteland. And then we flank him. And then we just destroy him by coming back because we know he's coming for the Citadel." Very, very smart.
One
Love
of the
a Morton Joe
things
in this.
I love about this scene is you get the physical like war table
Yeah.
with like all of the positioning, and then you have the guy with the nose thing that's just like pouring sand on like all of these like little characters that's representing everybody. I love stuff like that in movies. I think it's so fun.
Me as well. And I think a great way to sort of visually tell this story of the 40-day wasteland war.
Yeah.
Because at this point, like, it would have been cool to see more of it. But at this point, we've seen so much action. We're 2 hours into the movie. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't really need to see this. It's great. From here, of course, I think it's It's a 40-day war for a couple reasons. One, because that sounds epic as fuck. Obviously, 40 days, 40 nights, all that stuff. It's very biblical. But also it gives Anya Taylor Joy's character a realistic time frame to recover from having her fucking arm cut off.
And to build a new one.
And to build this new badass mechanical arm that I like where she got from. She got it from the old mechanic that had like the surgical tools to go in there and like build stuff. She ripped that thing off and was like, "This is my new arm now." I
love this bit. Like honestly, like this area of it, I was like, oh man, like this feels very different than what we've seen in the previous movies. Like having the narration and seeing the kind of more montage version of it all, I was like, this is very special, I think, and like did a good job of giving the context of Mad Max, the universe, but in our world of like talking about all the different wars and then including this as one of the major wars that happened. It's just really cool.
The Wasteland Wars.
So sick.
So cool. Of course, she says, "Look, when you find Dementus, he's mine." And Morton Joe's like, respect where respect is due. We go out, war is happening. She makes the arm, she shaves the head. We get the full formation of Furiosa, right? She has completed her evolution into the badass that we see in Fury Road. From here, she goes, "I need a car." Then we got one left, and it's only got 3 tires, so she puts a little skate on it. Skits out to where one of the final battles has happened. Everything's in wreckage. Scrotus is trying to find a tire that'll fit his car so they can go hunt down the last vestige of Dementus's people, which is his core crew. We see them, and he's like, "Hey, guys, we did some awesome stuff together. I'll see you when I see you," right? They start tearing off, and of course, not before Furiosa gets her own badass V8 Interceptor, but it's like a hot rod style, and she rips off in it and goes after them. Figures the first guy's like, "Oh, that's not him." He gets taken by some of the raiders, and they rip his fucking head off. And
because they split.
Yeah, they split up. But he gives his chariot to someone else because he knows, there's been something sniping
The one-eyed
him.
guy.
The one-eyed guy. No, the chariot goes to the doofy guy. The one-eyed guy's on a motorcycle. He gets his head pulled off.
Yeah,
Remember,
he gets
getting his
wig
head
pulled
pulled off. That was nuts.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Also, we had to look into that man's eye socket for so
A long
much of the
time.
movie.
Yeah.
Nothing gross than just a dirty eye socket.
Yeah, that made me feel uncomfortable.
Clean that out with some
A lot
alcohol
of-
or something, man.
Yeah, just exposure that maybe I didn't want. No eye patch, I guess.
Wasteland.
Wait, Joey, my mind is your mind. Our mind is one.
Uh-huh.
What movie am I thinking about right now? It's comical, and the captain wears an eye patch.
Hook?
Close enough. I was going to say Captain Ron.
I have no idea what that is.
Captain Ron?
Remember Captain Ron?
No.
Okay, moving on.
What's Captain Ron?
Who's
Kurt,
in Captain
remember
Ron?
Kurt Russell? He plays the captain. I think Martin Short's in it. He was like, "Oh, I've
Like,
contracted."
what kind of captain?
Like a sea captain, a seafaring captain.
Okay.
There's a great line in it when they're in the Caribbean and they see some pirates, and he goes, "Oh my God, it's the pirates!" And he goes, "Pirates?" And he goes, "Yeah, the pirates of the Caribbean."
I have no.
Captain Ron.
I don't know if Nick is.
Have you not seen Captain Ron?
No.
No.
So
My
wait, you're
touchstone
telling me
for-
Kurt Russell wears an eye patch in more than one property?
Yeah, Snake
Wow.
Plissken, Captain
And-
Ron. This is the more obviously well known of the two. From
Is he
Escape
also
from
on
New
a
York
boat
and
in
this one.
Overboard, or is that just
That is
holding
also on a boat, yeah,
Okay.
but no eye patch in that one. Important to know.
no eye patch?
Wow.
Thank you for bringing this up.
Another important thing that we forgot about the 40-day war scene is we get the fucking guitar guy back.
We
Guitar guy's
do.
back.
Another gratuitous thing that I don't. I'm not again. It's me. I'm Tim Geddes. I love things just showing up because they showed up in something else. I'm a big proponent of that. But I am also a big proponent of, but then make them do something cooler than what we've seen them do before. And I feel like in this movie they didn't. And then once
Had less
again,
fire.
I feel like the little credit scene of Fury Road showing. I'm like, well, he's even cooler in that. So
Yeah, it just feels like cheap fan service sometimes when they show these little Easter egg moments. And it's like, all right, who cares? I mean, the guy was dope as fuck, but we didn't need to see him again. I digress. One by one, she hunts these guys down. Homie in the chariot gets sucked into a Sarlacc pit. The guy gets his head cut off.
which I thought was kind of a fun allusion to Thunderdome.
That was pretty cool.
With
we
the
have these sand
quicksand
pits that are
stuff.
here.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I didn't pick that. I was like, I know this was from another one of those movies. I couldn't remember. That was right. I forget how the lady with the jaw gets killed. She gets killed somehow. Remember there's a lady that's got a torn face. She's like one of the lieutenants. I think she was in this final 4 as well. But it doesn't matter because she spots the last biker and she's like, that's got to be him. She rides into a sandstorm to which everything goes black. He wakes up next to his motorcycle using his cape, which is actually a parachute to sort of shelter him from the sand. Goes for his water. oh, a hole's been cut in it. That's weird. Looks over at his tire. Tire's gone. And he goes, you found me, right? And then I love
Crazy
this.
that he slept so hard that he didn't hear her take the tire off his motorcycle.
She's stealthy,
But,
man.
You know.
And at
She's
this point,
stealthy.
the camera does that cool thing where it dollies over and she's standing on the ridge behind him.
And man, she looked awesome. This was like the hero shot of the movie, and fuck, it was cool.
Very cool.
So dope.
She's got that sort of, I want to say like sort of samurai-esque costume on because she has the, well,
Her
first off,
silhouette is dope.
shout out to the motor on her,
Yep.
on her shoulder that has like a little chain that can cut through, like a little thing that can cut through chains. That's pretty cool. But she's got sort of the shoulder pad. She's got those like the cross bracing that
Like
you would see
Cloud
like underneath.
Strife from
Yeah,
Final
it's
Fantasy VII.
super cool, man. And everything kind of looks like feudal Japanish on her. Very, very cool. Of course, I'm just a sucker for anyone that looks good with a shaved head. And she looks fucking awesome. And I wish I had
She
that
has
hairline.
A cape in the wind, man. Ain't nothing like it.
But I think
Yeah,
it
the, like,
was, I don't know
billowing.
if this was the shot where she had the cape, but at one point I think it was his cape
I think it is.
because,
Yeah.
but at this point it was covering. So when she
Well, I think
basically,
there's like different parts of it, right?
oh, right. Like he runs off. She finds him. I think the cape happens when she chains him. And then we cut to her and she's in the final form of like,
yeah.
she's made the cape and it's like white on top and black on the bottom, which I think was
With the
opposite.
red in the
It's
middle.
super
So
cool. Love that. And he's like, oh, I know who you are. Like, she's like, I want you. She basically reminds him, like, I want you to think about this a woman. He goes, which woman? Redhead, whatever. I can't remember. There's been so many that I've killed. And she reminds him, I'm Furiosa. And he's like, oh. And I like this scene. I think it works for me because he's basically, we had a scene earlier where he was like, if you stick with me, I'll teach you everything you need to know basically to survive in this. And you're going to become me basically no matter what, because that's what the wasteland does to you. And you have that juxtaposition of Jack being like, I'll teach you all the tools that you need also to like escape from the wasteland. And so here he's just like, it's sort of, to put it in context that other people can kind of see, it's sort of a Jack Nicholson Batman moment where he's like, oh, you made me, I made you kind of thing. He's almost proud that he's turned her into this sort of fierce, like feral creature. And then she hits him a lot and then he has a seizure and it's really shocking.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely one of the more what the fuck moments.
Yeah.
And then he wakes back up and he was just like, man, just do it. And then she's like, okay, cool. And then we start telling the tale of maybe she shot him. Maybe she dragged him behind the car until he fell and died. Maybe she torched him on a tree, or maybe she turned him into a peach tree. Out of those likely scenarios, I'm going to go ahead and say option 4 probably didn't happen, but the rest of them possibly could because this is the story of Furiosa.
I hope that she tied him up to the tree like he did with her mom. I feel like that feels accurate for the rage and the like getting payback essentially.
I think this chapter was called like something vengeance. It was like
Beyond
Vengeance. Yeah, that was pretty cool. One was called The Stowaway, too, which is always a fucking badass name for a chapter. And here we go. Then we catch up to normal times where she goes and gets the wives, but these are the wives from the new movie. And then we cut over to Charlize Theron and everything that's happened there. We see the shot of her with the badass branding on her neck, walking toward that. We see Morton Joe being like, my Imperator, Furiosa. I know he's an evil guy. That's a pretty fucking cool title. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And we get the entire recap of the movie. And I'm like, yay, we're going to see what happened to all of them after this movie. And we do not. It's just the end of the film.
Truly bizarre. Yeah, we just get a actual recap of all the amazing Nicholas Hoult moments from the last movie, some great action scenes, just kind of intercut, super cool. Not only do we not get anything new after, and I'm not even looking for a post-credit scene. I'm just looking for like something to like end this. I feel like the clip that they ended with wasn't even the end of the last movie. It was just kind of like, it's done, and now here's just the main credits. Left a bad taste in my mouth.
I was hoping for, and this is me obviously Monday morning quarterbacking, right? I didn't write this movie, and it's easy to watch a movie and like be like, oh, I would have done this. I'm studying screenwriting at UC Irvine. I wish they hadn't shown him as the tree, and I wish the final shot of the movie had been that area where she and Jack shared that tender moment where they touched foreheads together and kind of agreed. They were like, we kind of love each other a little bit. Maybe when this is all done, we clean up a lot because there's some stink going on all over the place. There's a stink factor 10 on both your bodies right now. It's a bacteria growth.
Yeah, but I don't think
Way to
that there's
cut it out.
anything that you can do to. I think you just have to accept it at that
I think
point.
the sand. You cover yourself in sand. Let the
gets
sand
everywhere.
cleanse you, just like Dune. That was the spot, and I was just hoping for like one shot of the Citadel where we see it sort of thriving, and then it kind of dollies over, and we see the peach tree on that little stoop. I think that would have been nice.
Yeah.
But instead, we got a peach tree boner from really, really emaciated
That is
Chris Hemsworth.
not a wrong way to put
and it was odd. And that is Furiosa.
Furiosa. Now it's time to do a thing I like to call Ragu Bagu.
Dun 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 dun.
Ragu.
Dun 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 dun.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Bad Guys Talk Bad Guys here for Mad Max in review. Tim, give us the list.
Currently, we have Morton Joe and the War Boys at number 1, followed by Auntie and Master Blaster from Thunderdome, Humongous and the Marauders from 2, and then Toe Cutter and the Knight Rider Gang from 1. Where would we want to put Dr. Dementis?
I'd start the bidding above Toe Cutter. Thought he did a good job, but I just think that Tina Turner brought something fun. I think Humongous brought something fun. And I think a Morton Joe really kind of steals the show here, but he's not really the main bad guy. He's just a really, really scary guy.
I feel like I'd even put this above Humongous. I've never been the biggest Humongous guy.
Yeah, but he had the Jason mask and he was jacked.
Yeah, there's just something about it, though. That, like, even though I have a lot of issues with Chris Hemsworth, I think overall, I don't know.
Joey, what say you?
I think I'm with Nick.
Yeah, I'm down.
Yeah.
I'm down for that. So then we got Dementis.
I mean, again, Humongous, very one note, but that one note was wearing a tiny little Speedo.
Yeah.
And a Jason mask.
You're right,
And it's
you're right.
fucking psychotic. I mean, I guess that's really where it comes down to. Like, who had the biggest level of psychoses in this? And Chris Hemsworth dips a toe into it, but I don't know.
Toe Cutter.
Yeah.
Toe Cutter was nuts.
Now it's God damn it, guys. It's a thing I like to call Name That Name, where we rank the movies based on which ones have the best names.
We're doing that.
Currently, at number 1, we have Master Blaster, Dr. Dealgood, and Auntie Entity. Duh.
Yeah.
Number 2, we have Imperator Furiosa, and Morton Joe, and Rictus Erectus, Corpus Colossus. Then we have Humongous and Golden Youth. Awesome. And then Toe Cutter. What do I put Dementis and Erectus and what was
Scrotus.
it? Scrotus and
Praetorian Jack.
Praetorian Jack. Pretty cool.
Pretty cool, but makes me think of the movie that Jerry O'Connell was in, Kangaroo Jack. Not a good movie.
Very funny that would, yeah, just the Jack.
So
part,
it
I
goes
guess.
down on the list then.
Yeah,
Huh.
cool.
You know?
What? Sorry, can you say the list again?
Master Blaster, Dr. Dealgood, Auntie Entity, Imperator Furiosa, Morton Joe, Rictus Erectus, Corpus Colossus. Like, it's not that high.
This is
No.
going low.
Humongous and Golden Youth, and then Toe Cutter. I'd
I'd
go
put him dead
above
last.
Toe. Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Toe Cutter's a badass name. We had a lot
I
of
would
great
go
names in that
above
one.
Toe Cutter.
I think I'd go above Toe Cutter.
Put it there then.
Yeah.
So say you.
Rictus Erectus and Scrotus is like, very funny.
That's pretty amazing. Did we ever figure out who that actor was? And is he the guy that played Beavis? I don't think he was.
I haven't.
He
pulled
wasn't.
up
I
the
looked into it.
Oh,
He
okay.
was
Thank
not?
you, Roger.
No.
Dang.
The guy from SNL, right? We're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
No.
Now, of
God,
course,
he
Tim,
looked just like him, though.
you can't forget about our most popular podcast in the podcast.
Oh, trust me, I wasn't going to,
Okay,
Nick. Of
thank
course,
you.
it's time now for Which Max is the Maximum?
Which Max is the Max? Which Max is the Max?
Confusing.
Max. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Mad Max. I believe, what was the list last time? Mel
Right now, it
Gibson
goes
and then Tom
Mel
Hardy?
Gibson and then Tom Hardy.
Where are we going to put the random cameo of Mad Max on the hill, which did not belong in this movie?
Dead last.
I agree.
Something
dead
that's
last.
interesting as I'm looking at the IMDb, Josh Hellman plays Scrotus. And I'm like
Where
clicking
is
on
he
his
from?
thing.
What's he from?
Oh, that's what I'm looking at. He's in Fury Road as a completely different character
I
called
love when they do
Slit,
that.
Mm.
Interesting.
which I think is interesting. He's also in X-Men Days of Future Past as Major Bill Stryker.
That's who I know him from.
And in Jack Reacher, the movie with
He plays
Oh,
young
William
Stryker.
Stryker.
Yeah, that's exactly what I know this guy
Oh,
from.
Bill. I didn't even think
That's
about that.
so funny.
Yep.
Yeah, he ends up growing up to be the dad
Cox.
from Succession.
Oh, fucking
Oh.
Christ. I never watched it.
Yeah,
So
interesting.
close. Just so close, Nick. I love you
I
so
love
much.
when I can hear Roger laughing from the other room as he's listening to this.
All right, now it's time to rank the Mad Max saga. Currently at number 1, we have Fury Road. At number 2, definitively, we have The Road Warrior. At number 3, we have Beyond Thunderdome. And number 4, we have Mad Max. Where would you guys put Furiosa?
This one's so hard for me because this is a movie that like I definitely feel like I need to watch again to have like my feelings kind of solidified on it. I think my gut instinct tells me I'm putting it above Thunderdome,
So above Thunderdome, below
Road
the
Warrior.
Road Warrior. See, that's interesting. Because at first I was like, maybe I'll put this number 2 because I really like Fury Road, and I think it kind of nailed it, and it was kind of did not say it's welcome, but I
Just
really
a
like.
reminder, Joe. That would be changing your votes from last week.
No, we already
do you mean?
solidified.
Well, just because you put Thunderdome above Road Warrior.
I know, but this
Okay,
is one of those
I
things
get
where
it.
it's like,
I get it. Just
I
putting that out
can't.
there.
You want to try to? You want that?
No, I'm good. I'm
you
good.
want it?
I'm good. I'm
Okay.
good.
I'm trying to think if I like this at number 2 or the number 3 spot. I really liked this movie, and I think it was epic. I enjoyed the shit out of it. Honestly, I think it was better than Road Warrior. I think I'd put this at number 2.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Nick put it above Road Warrior.
I really liked it.
Very surprised. That then puts this at Furiosa.
Wait, where are you gonna put it?
This puts that at number 2. I would put this last. I think easily.
Wow,
I think easily I'd put it last. And
Really?
I loved all of these movies. Like as a franchise, I think Mad Max is awesome. I just think that out of all of them, this is the one that didn't need to happen. And I feel like, would I rather rewatch this than Mad Max 1 or 2? Yeah, just because it's a more modern movie, though, not because I think it's actually adding anything important, which I think the other ones do. But again, enjoyed all of these quite a bit.
Wait, this goes at 3.
This would go at 2 above Road Warrior.
Wouldn't it go at 3?
No.
Oh, wait, sorry.
We'll
I
go
put
at
it-
3.
Yeah, it's
You-
at 3.
She put it at 3, and I'm the only
So
person.
that's where it goes then. It's
So I'm
number
actually
3.
not mad at that. Actually,
Thank you.
you made the decision for me, Joey. P-boys.
Yeah, so it then, just to
My
clear this up.
hesitation.
Number 1, Fury Road. 2, The Road Warrior. 3, Furiosa. 4, Beyond Thunderdome. 5, Mad Max 1.
I just want to let you know my hesitation for giving you a high five was not because of the P-Boys. It was like how much has Nick touched the hot dog since he
lot.
washed his hand?
A lot.
I will go on record as saying I think that Mad Max in review is up there with Kung Fu Panda in review as being the holy shit, what an impressive series of films that I would have not expected much from to begin with.
I hope this film did well. I hope it does well. I hope everyone should go see this in Dolby. I thought it was a visual experience. I thought the sound was awesome, and DJ Junkie XL fucking brought
Did
it.
the damn thing.
I want more of these, man. I don't necessarily need more Furiosa. It would be cool to tell more stories in the wasteland and try to come up with new inventive ways. And again, I just think there's action in this movie that you're just not going to see anywhere else. So I think it's cool to see. And for a holiday weekend, get your ass to the theaters.
Yeah.
This feels like one that I wish was Dune in the sense that I wish that there were books and stuff like that, because this is a series that I could see myself really getting into. But there's no source material. there's nothing else I can do other than just
No
rewatch
time like the
movies.
present. You and I could sit this weekend and novelize this.
I don't know that I have that kind of gift.
What would we? I want to write the part with the maggots and the old lady. Her
Let
name,
us know in
you
the
know what-
comments below what part of the movie you would novelize.
You know what her name's gonna be? Maggie, the maggot lady.
Oh man, we got to name that name. Anyways, I love you all. Thank you for joining us on this amazing journey for In Review. Next week, there will not be an In Review because it is Memorial Day week. So we're taking that day off. We got a couple, we have to move some things around, but we will return the week after that. The plan right now for that week is
That's a great question.
Bad Boys 4.
Which is not called Bad
Ride
Boys
or
for
Die.
Life.
No, yeah, it's Bad Boys Ride or Die.
Again, I'm
Horrible
with you. We
decision.
start the petition right now to just change the name of the movies.
Yeah.
They can do it. People are on IMDb. They'll just change it. Well, Retcon. They changed Live, Die, Repeat to be
It's true
tomorrow.
they
Never.
did.
The day after tomorrow is Live, Die, Repeat. Now it was stupid and a bad name, and then they changed it back. We can change Bad Boys.
We have to right the wrongs of society.
Mm-hmm.
Let us know in the comments below what you thought of Furiosa. And until next time, I love you all. Goodbye.